I said get your hands where I can see them before I put you in the ground. He ripped open her driver's door so hard the hinges screamed, then grabbed a fistful of her jacket and yanked her halfway out of the seat. Renee's heart slammed against her ribs, but her face remained perfectly still, the kind of calm that comes from staring down killers far more dangerous than this boy with a badge. This rookie stood 6'2" with the swagger of a man who'd never been told no, his hand already unsnapping his holster like he was hoping for a reason. But this traffic stop was about to become the biggest mistake of his very short career. Let me take you back 90 seconds before everything fell apart. Renee had been driving home after 16 straight hours undercover. Her cover identity was already being scrubbed from federal databases. Her real credentials were locked in a fireproof case under her passenger seat. She was exhausted, drained, running on cold coffee and adrenaline fumes. The speed limit was 55. She was doing 53. So when those blue lights exploded in her rearview mirror, she knew, deep in her gut, this wasn't about traffic. She pulled over. Engine off. Interior light on. Hands visible on the steering wheel. Everything exactly how they train you to survive. But survival wasn't on this rookie's agenda. He approached from the rear driver's side, already aggressive, already agitated. License and registration. Now. His flashlight beam hit her face like an accusation. Renee kept her voice steady. Officer, I'm reaching into my glove box. I want you to know. Did I ask you to speak? Did I? He was escalating. She could feel it. The energy coming off him was unstable, like a wire sparking before a fire. She moved slowly anyway. Carefully. Every motion deliberate. But when her fingers touched the glove box handle, he lost it. What happened next would be replayed in courtrooms, on news channels, and in FBI training videos for years to come. But this was only the beginning. He grabbed her arm and twisted it behind her back so fast her shoulder blade felt like it cracked. I knew it. I knew you were reaching for something. Officer, I'm federal. He slammed her face first onto the hood of her own car. The metal was still warm from the engine. Her cheek burned against it. His knee drove into the small of her back, pressing down until she could barely breathe. Federal? That's cute. That's real cute. You think I haven't heard that before? Renee's vision blurred at the edges. Not from tears. From fury she had to physically contain. 16 years with the FBI. Commendations from 3 different directors. She had put her life on the line in situations this rookie couldn't imagine in his worst nightmares. And here she was, pinned to a car hood on a highway shoulder while he called for backup like he'd just caught a fugitive. Dispatch, I've got a non-compliant suspect. Possible weapon in the vehicle. Send another unit. Possible weapon? She'd told him nothing. Reached for nothing. Done nothing except exist in a car he decided to pull over. Be honest, what would you have done in her position? Would you have stayed silent, or would something inside you have finally snapped? Renee closed her eyes. She thought about her mother, 73 years old, watching the news every night, terrified every time Renee walked out the door. She thought about her daughter, 14, just starting to understand what it means to move through this world in black skin. And she thought about every woman who looked like her who never made it home from a traffic stop. She would not become a statistic. Not tonight. So she went still. Completely still. And she waited. Because Renee knew something this rookie didn't. If only he knew what he had just set in motion. When he yanked her from the car, her phone had been in her jacket pocket. The impact against the hood triggered her emergency protocol, a silent 3-second hold that auto-dialed a secure FBI line. Everything was being recorded. Every word. Every threat. Every sound of her body hitting metal. But that wasn't all. Because 4 miles behind them on that same highway, a black Suburban was already changing lanes. Inside that Suburban sat Special Agent Marcus Turner, Renee's partner of 11 years. He had been heading home too. He heard the dispatch call on his scanner. Non-compliant suspect. Possible weapon. He knew Renee's route. He knew her car. And he knew exactly what non-compliant meant when they said it about a black woman who followed every rule. Marcus pressed the accelerator to the floor. Back on that shoulder, the rookie's backup arrived. A second officer stepped out, older, more cautious. He took one look at the scene and something flickered across his face. "Patterson, what's the situation here?" The rookie, Patterson, puffed up his chest. "Got a suspect who was reaching for something. Says she's federal." "They all say that." The older officer looked at Renee. Really looked. "You have credentials?" "Left jacket pocket." Her voice was ice. "Which your partner is currently kneeling on." The older officer's expression shifted. "Patterson. Step back." "What? No way. I've got this under." "I said step back. Now." Patterson hesitated. His jaw tightened. But he moved. Renee stayed still as the older officer carefully reached into her pocket. What he pulled out made his face go pale. An FBI badge. Gold. Authentic. Unmistakable. The older officer's hand actually trembled. "Patterson. Do you know what you just did?" Patterson's arrogance finally cracked. She didn't identify herself." "She tried to. I heard her through your own body cam audio on dispatch. You cut her off. Twice." And just when things seemed like they couldn't get worse for Patterson, headlights flooded the scene. The black Suburban screeched to a halt behind the patrol cars. Marcus stepped out. He didn't have his badge visible, he didn't need it. His entire presence radiated authority that badge or no badge, this was a man you did not cross. "Get away from my partner. Right now." But here's the part that changed everything. While Marcus helped Renee to her feet, the older officer was already on his radio, running the rookie's body camera footage back through the system. And what he found changed this from a single incident into something much, much bigger. Patterson had been with the department for only 9 months. In that time, he had initiated 37 traffic stops. 31 of those stops involved black drivers. 22 resulted in searches. 0 drugs found. 0 weapons recovered. 0 legitimate arrests made. But that wasn't the worst part. 3 complaints had been filed against him, all by black women, all for excessive force during routine stops. All 3 complaints had been dismissed by his supervisor. The same supervisor who hired him despite a disciplinary flag from his police academy. Patterson wasn't just one bad rookie. He was a symptom of a system that protected him at every turn. Until Renee. The FBI doesn't take assaults on their agents lightly. Within 72 hours, federal investigators had seized Patterson's body cam footage, his personnel file, and every traffic stop record from his 9 months on duty. Within 1 week, Patterson was terminated. But that was just the beginning of his consequences. A federal grand jury indicted him on 3 charges: assault of a federal officer, civil rights violations, and filing false reports. His supervisor, the one who buried those 3 complaints, was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. The 3 women who had filed complaints before Renee? Their cases were reopened. They were invited to testify. For the first time, someone actually believed them. Patterson's trial lasted 4 days. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to 37 months in federal prison, 1 month for every traffic stop he had weaponized against people who looked like Renee. Renee returned to active duty 3 weeks later. She didn't give interviews. She didn't write a book. She didn't become a symbol or a spokesperson. She just went back to work, protecting a country that still struggles to protect her. But her story spread anyway. Through whispered conversations at beauty salons. Through shared posts in church group chats. Through quiet nods between black women who understood exactly what she had survived, and how easily it could have ended differently. She became proof of something too many people still try to deny, that the uniform doesn't always mean protection, and the badge doesn't always mean justice. But her victory wasn't just about Patterson. It was about the 3 women before her who spoke up and were ignored. It was about every woman watching right now who has ever been pulled over and felt her heart race with fear that had nothing to do with guilt. It was about a simple, unshakable truth. Your dignity does not end at a traffic stop, and your voice matters even when they try to silence it. But here's what still haunts me about this story. Patterson passed every background check. Every interview. Every evaluation. 3 women reported him before Renee, and the system buried every single complaint. If Renee hadn't been FBI, if she hadn't had a partner 4 miles behind her, if her phone hadn't dialed that emergency line, this story might have had a very different ending. So I need you to think about something tonight. How many Pattersons are still out there right now, protected by the same silence that protected him? And how many women will it take before we stop calling it a few bad apples and start asking who planted the orchard?